Hello, and welcome back to the Modeling Success in Action podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, and today I am joined by the fantastic Flora Gordon. Flora is a branding specialist and certified design professional. She's got a passion for visually expressing complex ideas, having designed everything from magazines to museum exhibits and enjoying collaborating with creative and technical teams. Her company, imageimage, is a small constellation of big talent. The most frequently visible would be in East Vancouver as an award-winning identity design agency offering intuitive brand development, creative advertising, and ghost designing. She helps clients achieve goals beyond what they can imagine. She's a professionally certified member of Design Professionals of Canada, DESCAN, and has a degree in communication design from Emily Carr University. She speaks about design at national conferences and has developed an accessibility-focused graphic design course for Simon Fraser University, emphasizing clear communication and readability through layout and typography. Welcome, Flora. It is so fantastic to have you on here.
Thanks so much for having me, Jessica.
So beyond everything that I just said about Flora, the beautiful thing is that I have got to kind of watch her in action, not only supporting, herself and her own success, but like so many people around me. We're in a networking group together and everybody you meet has something to say about Flora. People that are in our chapter, people that are in other chapters, people that have come and gone. Anybody who's ever crossed paths with her can see what's going on with Flora. And she does it all through, actually a lot of health complications and you kind of keep trucking, and it's a beautiful model of what is possible regardless of what else is going on in your life. So I would love to have you kind of tell us a little bit about how you're doing that and how you really are impacting so many people.
Thanks so much, Jessica. And that means a lot. And one of the things we've learned through networking is obviously the power of helping other people, the power of giving. And I find that just really keenly listening to what other people need or being there for them. Sometimes people will tell you what they need, but it's also possible to get to know someone and then later to be able to actually anticipate what they're going to need, what they're going to like. And then in the future, when they're having a hard time, you have that little memory bank and you're like, okay, this person likes this kind of coffee or they like this kind of cookie. Really like baking. I just throw that in there. And, you can make a really big difference because they're going to think, oh, Flora remembered me or Jessica remembered me, what I like. It automatically sends a really special message. And you don't have to buy someone the most expensive gift or send them the longest letter or things like that. It's if you actually target what people have already told you they like or dislike. And if you keep track of that information, it's sort of like a cheat sheet or like a hack to impressing someone without taking a huge amount of effort. Because you remember they like chocolate chip mint ice cream or things like that, or that they're looking to be introduced to a particular profession, things like that. So if you hang on to that really tightly and you listen really closely, people are actually giving you those hints all the time. And I think about that Cheers bar where everybody knows your name. And it was yeah, that's it. People want to be recognized. People want to be remembered. And it's actually fairly easy to do that for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the key in all of that is that you actually have to be paying attention, right? That you have to be listening and curious and interested in knowing that stuff, right? And clearly you are, and it pays off in spades. So yeah, it's a skill that we could all look at and get curious about how we could be a little bit more like Flora in that department, really paying attention to all of those, because you're right. People are dropping hints all the time. Everybody wants to be seen. Yeah,
exactly. It's not just the 5 years old and under who are telling you what they want for Christmas. People are telling you all the time.
Yeah, right. And the beauty about you is that you are still able to focus outward, focus your attention outward, even when you've got, you were limping around on crutches for months. You had something going on with your legs, right? And you've got all this stuff going on that you really could take an, oh, woe is me mindset and everything's about me, and and just make it all about that. But instead, you're still, focusing your direction towards the outside world and what's possible. It's really, really kind of inspiring.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. So tell me, how have you, kept a positive attitude for this? How are you staying focused on possibilities?
Yeah. So I definitely think the positive attitude is the only way to go. And I used to tutor kids and help them, like elementary school kids, and I would help them with their French and their study skills and things like that. And I would always say to them, like, when you're working on a quiz or an exam or something like that, or a project, I think you have to think about each point that you're earning and like celebrate it a little bit. So every time there's a question on a quiz that, hey, you know that, you remember that, you're pretty sure the answer, you have to think to yourself like, yay, and encourage yourself and think like you got a basket or a basketball in the basketball hoop or a goal or in hockey or soccer or whatever. You have to think that you're like earning, as opposed to thinking the 100% on the quiz every time you don't know an answer that you're deducting it, because you're just going to start feeling worse and worse. And that mindset is going to make you doubt your other answers, and it's going to make you feel just super negative and just anxious the whole test. So you've got to focus on that sort of positive earning, like steps, one step after another. And then just think that you're getting like bonus points and that you're taking small steps towards your goal. I think that's huge. And I think that can be applied to a lot of things as well, like business, like every time you get a new customer or every time you get paid, thinking, oh yeah, I'm asking something and I'm doing super well, instead of focusing on the like one or two clients who are late to pay you, or who canceled their package right before you thought they were gonna retain you.
It's really the towards pleasure rather than away from pain mentality, right? You're going, what am I chasing? What's that next thing? And you can celebrate every step that you're taking towards it, rather than like, oh, well, I just want to avoid the bad things, right? I want to avoid losing points on this test, or, losing a sale. No, it's like, what's the next thing? What can you celebrate? What are you working towards? That's so cool. I love that, Flora. Okay, so tell us a little bit about imageimage, and when I was reading your bio, we touched on that you really are helping the clients achieve goals beyond what they can imagine, right? So how does imagination play into this? Tell me a little bit more about imageimage.
Well, thank you. So yeah, I have a totally corporate graphic design company that does the very normal day-to-day clear communications, and I put as much accessibility into it as possible. But imageimage is focused on creative branding and just finding new opportunities. So whenever my team and I get the chance to take a project from beyond what the client had imagined, and that's why I had trademarked that phrase. It's like, for instance, I had a client come to me with a brochure, and they said, oh, we would like you to design this brochure. And they sent me, of course, 10 pages in Microsoft Word, which is not going to all fit on a tri-fold brochure, which is actually just one piece of paper folded into 6 panels, it's double-sided. But if they're willing to take a little chance and bear with me while I figure it out, what can actually happen is we can come up with something much more successful. So yes, they did get a brochure. It is a shorter version. It's an abridged version of what was in Microsoft Word, but it has a short URL and a QR code, and it leads you to a full digital version with clickable links. It's got photos on every page. It's got a lot of nice extra information, and we can update it. So if one of those links goes down, we can update it. And then because it was in this digital format, we were able to get it into a medical directory. So doctors across BC could give this information. It was a medical brochure. And then we were able to say, well, now we can make a generic version so it could be used across Canada. So it started out just as like a printed brochure, and now it's become like an information delivery system.
Yeah, that's certainly beyond what they had imagined at the beginning, I'm sure. Yeah, right. They're thinking a pamphlet to hand out in the lobby, that maybe somebody takes home, or maybe it gets crumpled in the bottom of a purse, but now it's actual like information that people can retain and have access to. You've made it more accessible. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So if they're open to taking a little chance, if they really believe in their brand and the potential for what can happen, we can do sort of a non-standard process to bring them, like I said, more than they're anticipating.
That's incredible. So, okay. So you have my interest peak now. I want to pull on this thread of imagination. So like, how are you, when you say they have to bear with me, what's your process like? What's happening while they're bearing with you?
Well, what I just meant is that I think a lot of times when people purchase creative services, like every agency's got their system, and their other agencies are doing amazing work. I'm just saying mine, I'm less the type to meet someone and say, I'm going to take you through this exact process that I use with everybody else, and you can buy one of my 3 packages. And my company has a system for ClickFunnels or whatever, and we are just going to put you on your conveyor on the conveyor belt and do this system we've done over and over and over again. And I want to say, hey, actually, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I understand your business. And if I do not think I can move the needle, if I don't think my agency can help you make money, way more money after you've worked with me, as a result, I'm actually not going to take you on. So that can take me a little time to do an analysis. But what if they fundamentally have a business problem like staffing or profit margin? I don't know that what I'm going to do is going to really solve that unless they're looking for some recruiting type of communications. So if I don't actually think I can help them, I will give them some helpful information, maybe connect them to some people who can get them on their way, but I don't actually take it on.
That's really, kind of integral, because I feel like, there are a lot of people who would be like, well, this might help. So like, let's just throw some more gas on the fire and see what happens. Right. But yeah, cool. So when you have to deliver that kind of, hey, this is the bottom line, first you need to do this. Do you find that they go and follow your advice and then they come back around when they are ready to take on, the marketing side of things or the rebranding side of things?
Yeah, I've definitely had people come back, and I've actually also definitely had people who took the advice that I gave them, and then maybe they ended up working with someone else. That might have been the right path, but and then I'll also say, like, these are the solutions I've come up with, or what's available to me, what's in my imagination and the result of my research. But maybe there might be someone who could fulfill this better. There are areas where my agency, like, I don't do anything to do with say sports. Don't watch a lot of sports on TV. None of my team does. So that's an area where I would really just refer it to someone else, and that would be in everyone's best interest.
That's kind of also interesting too, like that you're willing to pass it on, so that what you are taking on is, you're able to be knowing that you're providing quality, that you have insight in that particular field. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, so fantastic. Okay. So you said your team. So when you are, making an important decision, or when you're workshopping things, who do you consult with? Who do you find is helping to support you as you take on action?
Yeah. Well, actually, first, it's so great that we have a big entrepreneurs group, because there's someone with every expertise there. So we have a lot of people with background, like different types of business backgrounds, legal backgrounds. I like to speak with business coaches. I actually, I have other creative entrepreneurs that I meet with. Some I've only met online and people like that. But the other thing is I actually like to consult a psychic. I like psychics and mediums and stuff and people like that. So I do like to get guidance and information from different perspectives. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. I can't just leave that there. So when you
Yeah.
consult a psychic,
Yeah.
are you like, when you take the information in, are you finding that it's like, okay, that's accurate, I can action on that? Or are you leaving it up to your own interpretation? Or I'm so curious about the direction that goes with somebody who, like you said, you do have a very, like, there's one side that's very corporate, right? Then there's the other side that's the image, right? So blending those two sides of things.
Yeah, often with so one of the psychics I like to work with, her name's Luca Hallex. And because she knows that I have intuitive ability, she ends up asking me questions that help me draw my own conclusions. Like we'll look for hints and information that I've already been given, and we'll analyze it. So usually it's confirming something I already feel or I already know. As opposed to sort of, hey, next Thursday at 11 a.m., this and this and this are going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So not just flashes of like, oh, insight, but kind of like helping you to tap into that, that unconscious, subconscious kind of higher self part of you that's already in tune with the whole channel, and is the one that's paying attention, right? Clearly you're tuned into something, Flora.
Thank you. Yeah. And like also connecting with that inner work, like the listening to the inner voice, and really thinking about the sort of subconscious, like what's our subconscious trying to tell us.
Mm-hmm. So what's your process with trusting that?
I feel like just it's almost never let me down. So definitely people give you the hints. Like if you're not supposed to work with a client, there are probably hints along the way. And I think we just ignore them because we're just worried about making enough money or things like that, when it's like right in front of you. Hey, for instance, I'll just give you an example. Businesses in Canada are really struggling right now. We have quite a few challenges. We had that Canada Post strike and political things are going on. I won't go into detail, but so a lot of people have like a smaller budget for marketing or even like business operations, and that's totally understandable. But if they don't have the fee for, say, my part of the work, it's doubtful that they're also going to have the funds for the rest of launching what they're going to require to launch. So the things outside of what I provide, when you're launching a new initiative or a new business, you're going to need legal work. You're going to probably need some kind of business consultant working with you. You're going to need materials and things like that. So those aspects all cost money to do properly. So I'm often doubtful if someone's not prepared to make the design investment at this time, or the creative investment. I don't think less of them. It can be really tough, but it's just one part of many other costs, and often I'm finding that people are not aware of all those other costs.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure that as you're providing the analysis for them, you're noticing that and kind of pointing that out to them so that they can make a decision as to how they want to proceed. Like, holy, yeah,
Precisely.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay, so you've mentioned a few times that like you're supporting other people, that we're using networking and utilizing these connections that we have to other people to kind of, I mean, you're so good at tuning in and noticing what's happening for other people, and like you said, anticipating their needs. So what, like, is that the approach you take in when you're making a connection? Are you totally just looking out, or what's your approach when you're growing your business and networking? Like, how are you weaving that in?
Thank you. Yeah. So what I found is many times people ask me for like a little bit of advice. Like they said, oh, I'm going to be having some branding done, or I'm going to be buying some creative services, or I'm going to be doing something business related, and, and if I take the time to meet with them and help them and I'm not actually selling, then quite often they'll come back to me because they liked my approach and they liked that I took that extra time and maybe told them about a grant that they could get, or some other service provider or resource or something like that. And then just investing that time, like it's not actually selling, but it sells for you. So quite often I see, put in the time networking. It's pretty easy to connect people to like-minded people. Hey, I just met someone yesterday that's interested in this and this. Or like the other day, Jessica, I sent you a podcast because it was sort of like someone with maybe a slightly similar business model. And it's just to let you know, hey, I'm thinking about you. It's better than, hey, have you thought about what branding you want to get in 2025 to meet your goals? Like that just isn't me. It's too unnatural.
Hmm. And people know when it's time to take the action. You don't have to be reminding them that you're a branding specialist. Like that's not the important thing. You're reminding them that you're there and that you're paying attention and that, you actually care and have a vested interest, right? Like I can see you being able to reach out to somebody if you found a broken page on their website and being like, hey, just so you know, this is down, right? Or whatever, right? Like, so it's interesting. I had a couple of weeks ago, I had Jordan Kofsky, who's a mortgage broker, on, and we were talking about service over sales and how he's really, this is the model that he's living in, is that he's like, I'd rather send them to another mortgage broker for a second opinion because then they know that I actually, care about what's going on for them. And they're going to remember, that I'm helping them, even if I'm not selling to them. And that's, really, it comes back to that. People want to feel seen, right? People want to feel appreciated no matter what service you're providing them, no matter what the relationship is, right? It's that giver's gain mentality. It's that give first, be there, show up, be willing to, let it happen over and over and over again. And eventually it'll come around, and maybe not from that person, but some other thing. It all comes out in the wash, So yeah, I feel like that kind of ties into the faith too. You have to kind of trust that that's how it's going to be and that just is the way that it is, rather than, having to have all this pressure and stress and worried about every wrong answer you get on that test.
Precisely. And there was something else I wanted to bring up about like mindset and subconscious, because I know that's an area that you're an expert in. So I feel like if people haven't worked on that part, it would be easy for them to go into a networking event with a real, like, I need to sell, I need to put this pressure on myself, because they haven't kind of done that inner work and calmed themselves down. So one time I heard someone say about, this is like a metaphor about skincare, but they said, if no one ever like exfoliates and removes like the dead skin, you can be putting like really expensive, really good skincare on, and it can't actually like do very much because there's these layers of dead skin, and no matter what cream, it's not going to get through there, right? So it's kind of what I think about like subconscious work. So if your inner mind is actually telling you you're in a crisis all the time, or that you don't have time to help people, or you don't have time to take care of yourself, if you're getting that playing like nonstop in your head, you can't, like, your actions and what you say can't really override that very easily. And this subconscious like soundtrack that you've got is like brainwashing you and just like slowing you down with like limiting beliefs. So I think that's an area that a lot of people get stuck, and you'll hear them say some things, or like, oh, I don't think I could ever achieve that, or different limiting beliefs, and not realize that that's actually like most of what's going on in their mind.
Yeah. Well, and it's easy for a lot of people to blame circumstances or whatever. Like somebody like you, for example, who has had health concerns, right? You could easily, go, oh, well, of course I could never do that. I just don't have the energy, or, oh, I'm tired today, or whatever, and then just have that be, a reason why to hold yourself back, right? It is that limiting, it's that self-limiting belief. We stand in our own way. Whenever anyone's asking me like, who are the people that you're helping? Like, I'm like, they're like, well, weight loss people who smoke. I'm like, I'm helping the people who are standing in their own way, right? Those people who are going, I really wish I could do X, but I just can't because why? And it's like, no, there's always some way to either adjust your actions or the experience that you're having, right? To make it as good as it possibly can be for you. I mean, like, I'm not saying that everybody can solve every problem, that people who, have never walked can walk again or something like that. But, if this is something that's really in the realm of actual reality possibility, then there's no reason why we can't fix that subconscious part of our, the way we're processing things, the way we're experiencing things. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
I'm so glad you said that.
We got to clean it up.
Pardon me. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you explained that.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought it up. So, Flora, before we wrap up today, is there anything else that you feel like we need to, delve into? Is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners with?
And yeah, I just wanted to share that I'm really a big believer in like the small daily steps that accumulate towards a goal. When I was in the hospital, I had a lot of time just lying there, and I started doing these New York Times word puzzles, and I got really good at them. Like I could finish them really fast, and I could finish really advanced levels because I was spending time every day towards goal, and I believed that, that this would amount to something. Then a couple of weeks ago, I realized, I'm feeling so much better. Maybe I don't want to use that much time every day on puzzles, but I have proved to myself that these small daily actions, small daily actions like really, really do add up. And when I've been ill and when I've been injured and I feel like I have almost no capacity, I'm like, can I do a small action towards my goal? And can I make a change? Because if I'm doing the same thing the same way, is that not like the definition of insanity or something? Like, you need to take a different approach.
Yeah, if you're expecting it to change and you just keep doing it the same way, that's insane. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So it's kind of cool though, because that is like with the puzzles, it's an example of showing yourself where you have the skill to do something, and then you can literally just extrapolate that outwards, right? It's like if you can tie a bow on your pants, you can tie a shoe, you can tie a package, right? It's the same skill and you're just using it in different places. And now you have proof, right? You've shown yourself that it's just possible. So where else is it possible, right? What else could happen?
Precisely. And I would like people to take that away. If they're intimidated about getting a new skill or doing something, it's like it's all gonna accumulate into something positive.
Yeah. Right. As long as you're keeping that, you have a goal, right? You're outcome oriented, you're looking towards it, you're rewarding yourself, you're celebrating each step along the way, and you keep taking those steps along the way, right? They keep happening day in, day out, but every day is a celebration, which is pretty awesome, right? Yeah. That's awesome. Fantastic, Flora. So thank you so much for joining me and sharing all those pearls of wisdom. It was really wonderful to be able to kind of step inside your model of the world. Your model of the world is so, in that realm of imagination and possibility. It's a groovy place that we could all hang out for a while. So if anybody else wants to connect with Flora or reach out to her, I'm going to put all of her details in the description below the podcast here, so you can reach out to her on that. And I think I'm going to leave it here. Thank you so much, Flora.
Well, thank you, Jessica. That was excellent, and I appreciate you.